Zealand, what a move from Burling!
There's something so stupid. Now we got all this damage because Pete Burling wanted one extra point.
Peter Burling's taking the win in race number 1. Look at the speeds, everyone, over 80 kilometers an hour.
Absolutely ripping.
Canada's gonna go over.
The French have also set a new top speed of the day, 99.9 kilometers an hour.
Stand by. 0, go, go, go. 1, lock. Go wing. Slowly coming away. 2. Here we go. See my wheel. You guys all right? Very well sound, everyone.
Welcome to the stunning coastline of the Côte d'Azur and the town of Saint-Tropez, one of the most luxurious settings and the backdrop for the final day of racing at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix. 4 races scheduled for today with 3 fleet races and then the concluding event, the podium race, which will feature the top 3 teams in a race for the title. Alongside Emily Nagel and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. Well, a small armada of super yachts has taken up residency in the bay, and they will have a front row seat to watch these F-50 floating catamarans. And what a start on day 1 with record-breaking speeds and high drama on the Mediterranean.
Through, they fly high!
The Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix will go down in history. Big breeze, record-breaking speeds, and wall-to-wall action. And the first start was a sight to behold.
They come into the danger zone at mark number 1.
Great Britain took the early lead, only for the Australians and New Zealand to hunt them down. New Zealand took an opportunity at the finish and pushed Australia out of the race.
Oh, they dip it! What a move from Burling!
Will they hit 100 kilometers an hour?
Big pressure moment coming here.
With strong winds, the teams were at their limit, fighting to control their boats, causing pile-ups at the bottom mark. Australia's repair held up and they turned their frustration from race 1 into outright speed.
Absolute masters in this big breeze.
Tom Slingsby in Australia will get the win in race 2.
United States find form in Saint-Tropez by following up with a second after their third in race 1. Further back, New Zealand used the rules once again, this time against Canada.
Canada's gonna hold it over. Just get it back.
Great start by Jimmy Spittle again. Good start by Phil Robertson on Canada, and it's the Kiwis. Can they slide out?
Look at the speeds, everyone, over 80 kilometers an hour.
New Zealand and United States keep their cool in the building breeze, with their rivals crashing down. New Zealand sail away for the victory, with France breaking the top speed record.
99.9 kilometers an hour. So impressive.
So a quick recap of what happened yesterday on the Mediterranean. New Zealand kept to their winning ways with a first, fourth, and a first to lead with 27 points. The Americans showed their consistency and talent on board as Jimmy Spithill got a third, a second, and a third. They sit second. Then it's Australia in third, France and Great Britain the top 5, and those will be the ones really battling out for those 3 positions at the end of the day. Spain, Denmark, Canada, and Switzerland still with a lot of work to do. Right now, let's check in with Stevie Morrison on today's course.
The start's going to be vital in these light winds here in Saint-Tropez. Remember, the F-50s can't sail straight into the wind, so the fastest way is to sail at an angle to that wind, and we'll see them zigzag their way around the course. Every gate is an opportunity for a tactical choice. The teams can choose to follow or split away. The boats ahead hoping to extend, the boats behind hoping to overtake. Shifty light winds off the Saint-Tropez shoreline should make for a dramatic finish.
And we're getting close to the start of racing. Before we do that, let's check it down on the water with a 4th member of our broadcast team. Here's Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Todd, we have a light sea breeze across the course of 8 kilometres per hour, gusting just 15 kilometres per hour. The breeze is a lot more left than anticipated, but we're expecting a slow build and a right shift, with the peak breeze coming for the final race of the day, so fingers crossed for that. Every little bit of wind for the teams can seek is going to be critical today. Only a few teams have managed to foil, so if anybody can get off the start line foiling, they are going to look like an absolute hero today.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Much more from you as the day progresses. All right, Stevie, we're under 40 seconds to go, the start of race number 4. And as you've said before, the start will be critical.
Yeah, and just look at the size of those wings, Todd. The big 29-meter wings, there's not a lot of wind if you're caught in the bunch. It's going to be really hard to accelerate. USA, top of our screen, top end of the start line as we look at it. They've got space. They're going to be in control of their own destiny wind-wise. New Zealand, Switzerland at the bottom here. They're near pole position. It's going to be hard to accelerate, though. Who's got the timing right? 12 seconds to go. Australia out the back, but I think USA and Great Britain are well positioned here. Let's look for the line to turn white. Who's got their timing right? It's going to come down to the final seconds as we look to go. Brilliant start by Ainsley, bang on the line. Jimmy Spithill at the top of the line as well, in control of his destiny, but Switzerland and New Zealand are nearly stopped at the bottom here. Here we go. Who's going to be first to build speed? It's Great Britain and USA. They've got the speed up. Will they be able to pop the boat on the foils? It's the voice of Ben Ainsley. They're trying to find the mark. The wind has shifted a little bit in that pre-start. The mark's off to the left of our screen. There it is, straight in front of the New Zealand boat there. Turning down. It's a long way for these crews to sail, but the USA and Great Britain, they are up to speed. That's going to give them the advantage.
Denmark also flying the hole right there, trying to find speed, trying to find pressure. Emily, this will be a different situation, 180-degree shift from what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, completely different wind today, which means the teams are going to have to adjust, rethink their strategy. How is the land affecting the breeze, and how can we get these vital gusts of pressure? We can see the masthead speeds here. What we're looking for is 33 kilometers an hour in order to get these boats up onto the foils. So a way off that at the moment, but hopefully a few more gusts.
And Emily, you'll be crunching the numbers. Remember, it's only the top 3 that make it into the final, the podium race. And we've got 3 races today. Race 4 underway right now. Then there'll be race 5 and 6. And then the podium race for the top 3. And Stevie, it does not look like that wind that Lisa talked about is quite making it on the course as of yet.
No, we can see there. We can see the darker area. That's more wind. Upwind of us, up the coast, we can see there's lighter breeze. But all importantly, the USA have got a hull out of the water. They've halved the drag of the boat by lifting one of the hulls up. And they're now extending away in the lead. And that's, there you go, it's subtle movements. That's Jimmy Spithill talking there to Paul Campbell-James. He's talking about getting a bit more pull down from that rudder underneath him here. That's helping him keep the boat driving, keeping more extra righting moment in the boat, but it's subtle changes. Paul Campbell-James, he's got 29 meters of wing in his control. He's controlling that with a rope and a lot of hydraulic systems inside it. There's not a lot of wind out there, there's not a lot of energy, so Paul Campbell-James, any of the wing trimmers, got a huge day ahead. Not a day to be anything but relaxed on that wing. You've got to be so accurate.
Emily talked about the magic number being around 30 kilometers an hour, and that's what they're going to need to get those boats up foiling these high-tech F50 catamarans, and an early penalty going the way of Australia.
Yeah, here we go. Look, and now we see there the faster moving boat, USA. New Zealand, well, they've been going slow, but they're going to be at Mark 1 first.
Live speeds on the bottom left there, and yes, it is a very different day from what we saw yesterday, with the speeds now down in kind of the 15 kilometers an hour range.
I think one of the things you've got to think about on a day like today, Todd, in sailing boat racing, you've always got a choice. Am I going to sail less distance slowly or more distance fast? USA have been going a lot faster than New Zealand, but they've sailed a lot more distance. So currently, New Zealand, we see in the top left, they're showing us being ahead. And it's going to be a real question of that. We're on board Ben Ainsley here, looking around, see there's not a lot of wind on the water. Boat's stuck down, stuck in the water. Going to be subtle moves. Those boats ahead of them, we can see in front of them, they're disturbing their wind. A lot of turbulent wind. It's going to be really hard to accelerate.
So in the shadows of the mountains here on the coastline in Saint-Tropez and the super yachts out in the bay, there you see the 9 nations racing here in race number 4, scheduled for 3 races plus the podium race. And and hoping that the breeze will continue to build. And this is great news right now for the Americans because they are currently sitting in one of those top 3 positions, Stevie. And so Jimmy Spittl's going to try to nurse this one home. Getting a victory here in race number 4 is going to be huge, and then we're going to put Emily to work crunching the numbers to see who has the best chance of making the podium race.
Well, of course, in a day like this, Todd, where it's so light, what I'm looking at actually is the battle 6th and 8th is France and Australia. Well, now they were a 1 point apart from each other. Australia were 3rd, France 4th before this race. Currently, that 1 place difference for France over Australia would be enough to get the French into the final. But of course, we're hoping the wind comes in and we get a lot more racing today. Top of the screen, New Zealand, hull out the water. France, hull out the water. That should be a good sign for these boats. We should expect them to accelerate.
See Switzerland also making the move up the ladder. They look to be almost dead last off the line. And here they are sitting in 3rd place. To Stevie's points, they have sailed slower but less distance. The Americans sailed farther distance but at a higher speed.
We're seeing some of these masthead numbers flip to the 30-kilometre-an-hour mark, but getting very close to foiling speeds here. What's critical is they'll soon be doing double the boat speed of everyone else.
Wow, and Emily, what a great point you've made there. Look, on our bottom right of our screen, New Zealand up and foiling, and there, look at the ride height. Top left of here, we can see positive number for New Zealand, only boat in the feet foiling, and they're going to suddenly jump to nearly 3 times the wind speed. Look at them go, 43 kilometres an hour, up and foiling. They're closing the distance, but they've got to do another turn fairly soon. That yellow line suggests the ley line where they would hope to be able to get to the next gate. Can New Zealand stay on the foils? No, they can't. The speed drops off. It went below 30. It changed from green to white, and white is no good. Green is go to foil. White, they're back in the water. New Zealand potentially foiling again soon, though. Here they go. Look at that. Pop the boat up out of the water, and they're going to be charging. This New Zealand boat here, they seem to have done something good. They're the only boat able to get up on the foils at the moment.
After 3 races, the Kiwis lead. See the green numbers across the screens. That means they have the speed to foil. On board with the Americans now.
Jimmy, what a great start for Jimmy Spittle and the crew, but the New Zealand boat, can they stay on the foils? No, Burling doesn't even try. He just pops the hull out. He's just going to try and keep it tight. That's Jimmy, just turns the back. He's H1, and means he's got 1 hull in the water, and New Zealand are the same as us. Here we go, the wind whisperer Nathan Outeridge on board the Swiss boat, though. He turns right. He will stay on the foils. He's taking a different course. Voice of Stuart Biffle telling him to press, keep the speed on. This will look very good for the Swiss team in the long run, in the short term, but will it be good in the long run? Have they found more wind? When you sail to opposite sides of the course, there's a chance to find more wind.
And Great Britain now foiling.
Foiling and straight into a turn here, Todd. Out the back in 8th place. Have a look at that, 9th now at the moment. Australia, this is a disastrous result for Tom Slingsby. He's going to need to pick his way up through the fleet here, or that French boat's going to pass him in the race for the final.
They've got the speed, does Australia right now. There you see it, over 37 kilometers an hour, so they should be up and foiling, but a lot of work to do here on this 5-leg race.
Yeah, it's such an interesting picture right now. You see Great Britain were foiling, Australia foiling as they come in to this gate number 2. They've got work to do, though, Slingsby. Straight into a turn here for the Australians as well. Everyone seems to think there's more wind towards Saint-Tropez. Look, Great Britain, they're up on the foils heading upwind, and the leaders, the USA, at the front of the fleet, but they're still in the water. They're still not on the foils. It's an interesting difference in strategy.
A really nice illustration here of the angle difference from when you're up on the foils, like the GBR team, and with 1 hull in the water, like the Kiwis and the Americans. So they can sail closer to the wind, but they are going fairly slow compared to the British team.
There's just a discussion there, Todd. Jimmy's having a chat. Should we be foiling? Should we not? If we're foiling, well, we're going to sail more distance, but we're going to do it a lot faster. or we're going to try and sail less distance, slower. And I think in this conditions, it tends to be safer to sail less distance until you're absolutely sure you can foil.
And you notice how calm the communications are on today as opposed to yesterday when the wind was howling. You saw there Jimmy Spithill driving the boat, Emily Rioux looking around behind him as the strategist role or the tactician role on loan from France. So everyone, man, tactician's going to be key.
Almost popping here, but let's just wait.
Again, they're just having that conversation around the speed. At the moment, they don't look like they want to pop the boat out of the water. That's how the athletes out there describe it. We're going to pop up on the foils. Well, at the moment, it doesn't look too close. Nice lead, 70-meter lead for the USA. Jimmy will be happy. And yeah, I think big day for the strategists on the boat. If they can get their head out of the boat and find more wind, it's going to be absolutely crucial because we can see these distances open up very, very quickly.
This is race number 4, the first race here on day number 2 at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez as we get ready for an exciting finish here as the Americans have the lead. It is New Zealand sitting in second and Great Britain currently in third with a tight cross. Switzerland, Nathan Outteridge going right behind them.
Yeah, that's right. And they're all the fleet here. We see them sailing parallel to that yellow line. Should mean they're well lined up for the next gate. They can go straight through it without a turn if they don't want to, but leg 3 of 4, Todd, it's getting really close to the finish here. No more manoeuvres left, really.
So this race will be finishing at the leeward gate. Race number 4, and the Americans looking so good. Let's recap what they did. Remember, race number 1, they got a third. Race number 2, they got a second and a third in race number 3. So if they can get a first here, Stevie, this is going to be huge for them as they go through gate number 3, the near gate, one of the 2 rounding gates renamed and branded near in recognition of SailGP's new partner.
Absolutely, and it's a really interesting choice here. It's definite left turn, as the US are doing. Be interesting to see what New Zealand do. If you turn left, you're keeping things simple, but it's going to be very hard to overtake the American boat for the New Zealand crew if they choose to follow.
So Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP flying 1 hole right now. That's plenty, keeping them away from the fleet.
This is the race committee. We will be shortening this race course. You will finish at gate 4. We will be shortening that leg as well.
That's the voice of Melanie Roberts, the race manager. So she calls the race. It'll be finishing after gate 4, which the US and New Zealand have just gone through.
That's right, not a lot of this race left here as well. Leg 4 heading downwind now, just this final leg away from the wind. We can see a lot of the fleet coming up. It's tight, tight, tight in the pack. 3rd place, Great Britain. Well, they need a good result, and Australia still lumbering back in 8th place. That's not going to be good enough for them in this fight for the final. Could make things really hard.
Contrast this with what we had yesterday with the wind speeds over 40 knots. There you see it hovering right around 12 and 13, and they were doing touchdowns, Emily, to slow the boats down, and now they're just scrambling, looking for speed.
Doing everything they can to try and just keep a hull flying and hopefully get foiling on this next leg. Right now, these positions are very, very critical. We don't know how many races we'll actually get in today when the breeze is this light. So every race you have to treat like it could be the final race.
Absolute knife edge. It's worth remembering as well, the cut-off time limit for the racing is 14 minutes. So we're getting towards the end of that time, and if it does run out of time, we'll go back to the results at the previous gate. So this gate rounding absolutely crucial, but the crew's going to be hoping to get down towards the finish at the next gate. And someone who really needs to make a move here is Tom Slingsby and his Australian crew.
USA, New Zealand, Great Britain, Switzerland, and France, the top 5 right now on the final leg here of race number 4 in Saint-Tropez at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix.
And Todd as well, what we saw, the only boat to head in towards Saint-Tropez. Yes, look, Switzerland there, 3rd place, but that Saint-Tropez shoreline had been looking good for more wind. They're the only one in the green, close to foiling on board the Swiss. If they can jump onto the foils, can Nathan Outteridge and this Swiss crew move through for their first ever race win? He is foiling. It's now crucial. Can he stay on the foils?
Almost 200-meter advantage, though, as the Americans can bring this home, and the speeds are coming down. The race will terminate in just over a minute. Call it 1 minute right about now.
USA are just stuck in the water. Jimmy Spithill willing his boat across that line there. The Swiss boat turns. The New Zealand boat can turn 49 seconds until this race will terminate. It looks like no one's going to catch Jimmy Spithill's US boat. Slow and steady catches the win, Todd.
And the Americans quite accurately limping across the line, but they did enough, and it will be USA SailGP that gets the win in race number 4.
Oh, he snuck across. We've got 23 seconds left for the Swiss. They're on the foils. They need to get to the finish before New Zealand, otherwise their result will go back to the top of the last leg. 15 seconds. Can they make it down to the line in time? The British in 5th place at the moment. Can they get there? 8 seconds to go. 7, 6. It's so close to the time limit here. I don't think they're quite going to make it. Their result will go back up. That's a real shame there.
So it's good news for New Zealand as they will claim the 2nd position, although Switzerland crosses the line before them as they go back. Race has been terminated by race management.
He's so close, so interesting to see how those timings lined up. Did the Swiss get there? Will the Swiss get 2nd, or will they be taken back to their result of the previous gate? Very important.
So the race has been officially terminated because of time, 14 minutes. The Americans, the only boat to cross the line in the entire course. They take the win. The battle now will be whether New Zealand or Switzerland gets that 2nd position in the all-important points as they get ready, Stevie, for race number 5 and potentially race 6 before the podium race.
Well, that's right, and the start, well, it was very, very different first look. We see Great Britain and America up towards the top end of the line. They had more control of their wind, a big bit of space for them to both sail into up that end of the line. New Zealand, well, they were down near the pole position end at the bottom of our screen, but they didn't have any wind. They struggled to get up to speed, but Burling, well, he stayed calm, and despite not getting off the start very well, he put a good press on USA and Jimmy Spithill, but it was all a tricky start for these boats.
Slow and steady is the order of the day. We'll have race number 5. Still much more to come from the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. We're back right after this short break.
The USA are in. Are they going to survive? I don't think they are. Yes, they have. Good job by the USA to hold that. The Great Britain team above it. The USA still aren't out of this yet. They've got to try and stop it. Looks like they're gone. No, the tip of the wing is in the water.
We've got a big issue in the middle of the fleet here. Nathan Outteridge, very late to manoeuvre, and he's collided with the US crew. This is a big moment on board here. The Japanese boat on board the American boat. Hopefully no one's hurt, but that was a big misjudgment from Outteridge.
One gust, though too strong, saw the Spanish boat capsize. The sailors are all safe and okay, but the boat suffered extensive damage. You can see the top part of the wing completely ripped off.
They stopped it. This could be over. Capsize coming.
Oh, and a capsize for Great Britain in the finale. And so now it is 2 boats battling for the title as Australia sails away.
Oh, there's a collision between the American boat and the Spanish boat. Oh my lord!
Round up when you want. Guys, let's get going.
No, the British crew cruised on low rights there, lost control of the boat. There's going to be disaster for the Japanese and the British. That's unbelievable. A massive miscalculation from Ainsley, and there is no power on the Japanese boat. Disaster for the Japanese team.
An absolute beautiful day on the French Riviera, event number 5, season 3, SailGP, and here are the standings as they are after 4 races. New Zealand 1 point clear of the last race winners, the USA, and Great Britain sitting in 3rd. Now here's where it gets tricky. France and Australia still in the running for that 3rd position, so Ben Ainsley not quite comfortable just yet, but we'll see what happens. Well, what a setting for the racing this weekend as the fastest on water go head-to-head. But earlier, it was the opportunity for the fastest drivers on land to try their hands on water, as SailGP welcomed Oracle Red Bull Racing team drivers Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez as they tried their hands at these high-tech folding F50s.
Racing. Just get locked in. Nice. Happy to go faster here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I have like no experience at all.
This is the data center. Everyone has access to everything.
What could possibly go wrong? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's going to be like a drag race. I think we're good to go. He's on the inside. Turning up. Hey Max, you get to have a steer mode. Basically just we're going to steer straight. What's it feel like to the car? It's a completely different experience, but it's really cool. Jump on in. Nice, mate. Nice pressure outlet. See, just locked. Port's gone.
Great to have both Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez from Oracle Red Bull Racing join us here in Saint-Tropez. Before we get ready for race number 5, let's check in down on the water. Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Well, it might be light, but the intensity is still high out here. It's very different intensity to what we saw yesterday, but as you saw in that racing, anything can happen. From where I'm looking, the British boat and the Swiss boat, they're really pushing the foiling. They're going for it, whereas USA and New Zealand, they're being patient. So that's why we saw them come out with the win. So it's a real balance out here to know when to push and know when to hold back. Very different to yesterday. It's pushing to get on the foils. And the other thing that I'm observing is that there's two different modes. There's a displacement mode where you see two hulls in the water and they're going slow and directly to the mark, or there's the low drag mode. And maybe it's not foiling, but it's about getting the hull out of the water. So really, really tough day for the sailors, and those sailors will be thinking really, really hard about where to find that win, but I think it is along that seawall.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. 2:10 to go before the start of race number 5. Emily, you've been crunching the numbers as we approach the 5th race, and then the 6th will be after that. Who do you like, and who has the numbers to get it done?
Well, right now, when we look at New Zealand and the US team, they're both fairly comfortable with the number of points. But GBR, France and Australia are neck and neck in that battle to get into the final race. With potentially 2 more fleet races here, there's still a lot of room to play with here. But I'd expect to see a battle between those 3 boats trying to get every point they can. 9
nations battling for 3 spots in the final race of the day, the podium race. Stevie, if you're New Zealand, you got to feel pretty good about it. The Americans also. But Jimmy Spittle and his squad, they need a big win. They've almost got to guarantee themselves a spot in the podium race if they want any shot of beating the grand final in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, the season really has to get up and running for the USA here, and Jimmy and the crew have done a fantastic job so far. However, potentially 2 more fleet races left. Have a bad one in this one, you're going to be feeling pretty nervous going into the last one. So I think it's still, everyone will be very much focused on themselves at this point in time. Let's get another good result and then we can get through to the final. But for the teams like Denmark and Switzerland, expect to see them be a bit aggressive. I think they have to win this race to give themselves any hope of potentially a miracle making it to the final.
Less than a minute to go until the start of race number 5. The wind is light as Lisa's report, but possibly building closer to the seawall. So, Stevie, how much does that affect your strategy off the line and where you're going to go, knowing that the race may be shortened once again?
I think we saw they all struggled to make it down to Mark 1. So it was the New Zealand crew that we can see bottom of the screen. They like this end closest to the pole position. However, Tom Slingsby, we know there's no love lost there. Has Slingsby got space? He's trying to squeeze in. It's going to be a really late move. He's blocking Burling. Is there room for the Australian boat to fit? It looks tight to me. Oh, wow, Slingsby, there's some serious judgment there. He's going to be very, very slow. This could be a mistake by the Australians. Going to touch the mark for me. I expect to hear a voice of Craig Mitchell fairly soon as they hand off from that mark. He's going to have absolutely blocked New Zealand. Top of the line, Denmark and Great Britain. Expect to see the line turn white and then break it first.
So a clean start. It's Denmark and Great Britain at the top. The Americans have a good one. And look at this. Tom Slingsby is absolutely parked in front of the Kiwis.
Oh, the Australians needed a good one, Todd. What a move. It was too aggressive in these light winds. I'm surprised we haven't heard the voice of the umpire just yet. But New Zealand absolutely dead in the water here. And it's Denmark. We needed a good race. Great Britain needed a good race. And they've both executed the start to make that possible. Mark 1, left-hand side of our screen. And they're up now, 23 kilometres an hour. Expect an early turn from the boats at Mark 1.
So from yesterday's danger zone approaching mark number 1, they are now just in H1 mode, flying one hole, trying to find the wind out there to pick up the speeds. Remember, 30 kilometers an hour is the magic number as you see it on top of the mast. Will they get there? And that will allow them to foil, and the speeds can double.
It's tense and tight down here, Todd. That's Hested. You see, he's saying, I'm going to jive and get in there. What he means by he's going to wants to get to near Mark 1. He wants to turn and get in there. Get in towards Saint-Tropez. Lisa Darmanin, she's called it. They've all listened. There's definitely a bit more wind close to the shoreline.
We did see in that last race, the Kiwis had been the first to turn away from that mark, head towards the shoreline, and they did get a hull flying before anyone else. So, proven strategy. See if it works again.
We'll see who has the right position. Remember, in race number 4 that we just had, it was the Kiwis that went shorter distance and slower, and it paid off to the tune of 2nd place. And there you see Great Britain and Ben Ainsley flying that hull.
There you go. That's the voice of Ian Jensen talking about. He's actually on the other hull to the right of our screen. Ben Ainsley, they've got only 2 people in that hull because the less weight helps them keep it up in the air easier.
And here's just a reminder of the current standings as they stand now. If these results from this current race go forwards, we'd see the same 3 teams staying up there, but don't forget there are 20 points to grab here in the next 2 races, so it could change quite significantly. We've seen Canada already turning away and heading back towards Saint-Tropez.
So they've just sailed a short distance to Mark 1 there, stuck on the inside. It's a really slow turn, but they'll be hoping after this turn they find a bit more wind.
Canada moving into 1st place with Denmark in 2nd, Great Britain in 3rd, France is 4th. Spain now making that turn, so they'll move all the way up from 7th to 2nd place.
Go Australia on the inside, clearly deemed to have not had any incident there by the umpires. Surprised personally about that one, but anyway, we're into the race. Phil Robertson's voice we hear here. Georgia Llewellyn on the back also confirming that she agrees with the pressure. Big day for the strategists at the back of the boat, trying to look out, find the breeze, and we can see Ben Ainsley's Great Britain. Well, they had that hull out of the water, they were flying high, but they were on the outside of the pivot wheel there around that mark, and they're now stuck out, and I expect them to drop back down the fleet quite a bit from here. Ian Jensen, can we turn down? Can we turn away from the wind at all? I don't think so. They're in so much disturbed wind, and here we go. Canada, hull coming up, speed's going to be coming up.
And here we can see the split of the breeze across the course. GBR on the far left side of the screen with about 15 kilometers an hour of boat speed and 12 kilometers an hour of breeze. Similar on the Canadians, but we have seen it slightly higher on that side as well.
They're all trying to get to 30 kilometers an hour, and that will allow these F-50s to start foiling, and then the speeds will come up.
Canadians, they've got everyone up on the same side of the boat. That tells me they feel there's good power. That's Phil Robertson and Chris Draper just talking about their relative performance to the other boats. Here we go. Worth trying for a foil.
Long way, Chris. You think about going for a foil there, Chris? Yeah, almost got it now. Yeah, he's still got 0 depth. Your catch. Yeah,
she's talking about still not got my rudders set up for maximum power, for maximum righting moment on that. They're trying to force it at the moment, trying to force this hull to stay up and force that speed to build.
A little bit further here. 3.
No chance for a hull fly here. It's light winds. It's absolute delicate footwork. Saw how quietly Chris Draper moved across the boat. Look at the crowds. They're on tender hooks as well, Todd.
So it's Canada in the lead, Spain in 2nd, Great Britain just falling behind Australia, who've moved up to 3rd, despite that very slow start coming from Tom Slingsby.
Massive move by Slingsby there, potentially. Absolutely huge, with France back to 9th. Great Britain hanging in 4th. Could be enough for the British at the moment, but it's going to be so tight with the Australians. And look at that, New Zealand and Australia, they turn at exactly the same time. New Zealand, well, we know there's no love lost between Burling and Slingsby, but be at all surprised to see New Zealand try and take the wind away from Australia, try and slow them down if they can, and they've turned in a position to do just that.
What a crazy turn of events, as yesterday it was hold on to your toupee kind of weather, and today we're looking right around 10 kilometers an hour, and they are just creeping around. It's such a strategic event. Steve, I've got to ask you, how much are they looking for wind and watching the sail as opposed to watching the rest of the fleet?
I think on this first leg, they're really looking for space as much as they can. They'll have a plan. Obviously, a plan's only as good as first contact normally, but for the Canadians, they're very much executing their plan. And there you see, it's a kind of about minimizing the number of times you maneuver the boat in this light winds. Every time they have to turn and drag both these hulls through the water, you really, really slow down. And we can see there the whole fleet's really tight, but it's very much a chess game. It's not as nerve-wracking as perhaps from an adrenaline side of things yesterday, but I would imagine the heart rates, the nerves on board the boats are almost comparable to yesterday, despite the fact things are happening at well.
And I think it's worth noting here as we go on to leg 3 of 5 that the race will terminate after 14 minutes. Now we're just over 6:20 at this point, but we're only on leg number 3.
Absolutely, we're early on in the race. They really need to keep it creeping along here. We see the British are looking to set up for a right turn. I think this could work out well for Australia here. He's going to be able to turn back towards the Saint-Tropez shoreline and follow Canada that way. Traditionally, that's been a pretty good move here. France are going to be tight with them. Who's got the right of way? I thought Australia got in there ahead, but I expect a protest from the French. I think Slingsby's okay, but it's going to put it in the hands of the umpires again. As at the bottom, Spain, the youngsters on board the Spanish boat, they look like they're going to try and sneak round second. Slingsby somehow wormed his way through to third. Great work under pressure from Tom Slingsby there. What can Ainsley and his British crew do from here? He needs to stay within one place of the Australians if he's going to hope to make the final at the moment. And watch Jimmy Spithill, he's trying to dive inside. I don't think he's got rights to go in there. Be careful, Jimmy.
Spithill on the inside, the Americans inside of Denmark. France just making the turn. Give you a look on board of just how close this is. It's like a full sig alert in Southern California during rush hour as they make their way around the next gate.
Tight there. I'm not sure Jimmy Spithill had the right to go in there. High risk.
This is the umpires. Penalty USA relative Denmark.
That's going to destroy Denmark's race, that. This is going to need to be a big penalty on the Americans to really even things out here, because that's going to absolutely stop the Danes in the water. They avoided contact, but wow, it's going to be disastrous for Nikolai Seherstedt. That one move could end his regatta here in Saint-Tropez.
So Jimmy Spithill and the Americans will pull off to the right as they give way to Denmark to absolve that penalty. Meanwhile, it is still Canada out in front at a snail's pace ahead of Spain, Australia, and France, the top 4. Great Britain sitting in 5th.
And still, we've got this race to the final to take a look at. Obviously, these positions are changing pretty rapidly, so the points are going to continue to change. This penalty is going to be a big impact on the USA team, possibly damaging their results, putting them at risk. A bit more than we expected.
Yeah, because they were in 5th, Emily. Now they drop back to 9th.
It's really tight. We can see the British boat here. It's tied on points 3rd and 4th. Great Britain, we know for sure. At the moment, we'll only be sat a point back from that. It's worth remembering it. When there's a tiebreaker in SailGP, it's all about your position in the last race you race. So that's why Australia show us ahead of the French at the moment, just because the Australians have beaten them as it sits on the water at the moment.
So the course will be short yet again. They will finish at the leeward gate with the super yachts providing the backdrop and the Saint-Tropez shoreline on the other side of your picture. This is race number 5, scheduled for one more race before the podium race, and that will be the top 3 point getters that'll battle it out for the title here in Saint-Tropez.
Really good angle for the Spanish. We're back on board the leaders on board Canada there. They've got the hull out of the water. Oh, I think they look all right too, Phil. They had a good angle.
Is he on lane? I see pressure on the wall here.
So yeah, I think that means what Phil's saying is he saw wind over on the wall by Saint-Tropez, but I think the Spanish have found a good angle out on this side. It's going to be interesting.
We will be shortening this race. You will finish at gate 4. The downwind leg will be shortened as well.
And that again, the voice of Melanie Roberts, the race manager. indicating what we just told you. The race will finish at gate 4, and they will shorten that gate as well. So the race is really on, Stevie, as fast as it can be. Everyone trying to find some wind. I want to go back to what Phil Robertson said. He saw wind on the wall. For those people that are new to sailing, how do you see wind on the wall?
Well, you don't actually see the wind, Todd. We're not witchcraft. What you see is the effect of the wind on the water. So the wind's friction over the water will tend to darken it, it'll put ripples on it, or it'll change the colour of it. But that's what the sailors are looking for. They're not, they're not magicians.
Right now, someone and everyone looking for some magic.
Got some magic. First one into the yellow circle, right of green, Spain. They have the right of way here. Canada must give the Spanish room to turn left if they want to do that. If Canada choose to turn right, then the Spanish will have to give them room. It's an interesting tactical move here as they're going to take different directions. Who's made the right choice?
Emily, if you were driving, where would you go? Which direction?
I did have to agree with Phil Robertson, and looking at the wall, we've seen breeze there a lot for these downwind legs. Previously, we've seen the teams that turned away at Mach 1 sooner get into better pressure, but at the moment they're both hulls in the water, which isn't a great look.
Listening to Jordi Chamar, the driver for Spain. Paul Barcelo on the back is the strategist.
Right in the pack. This is the race for the final right now. Australia, third place. They turn right. Great Britain look like they're going to set up to turn left. Ainsley's kept them in the race here. It's tight. Where are the French? French are showing as sixth, but they could be back a little bit behind the Swiss. Oh, it's going to be tight, Todd. This downwind leg is going to be huge down here. Great move by the British boat, but they're turning away from the Saint-Tropez shoreline. Who's got the decision right? Delapierre in sixth. He needs to make something happen. He needs to pass the Australian boat here.
And amazing to see the Americans and the Kiwis, who are leading on points after the 4 races, sitting 7th and 8th respectively, and they're in salvage mode.
They really are.
And with the Brits moving ahead of the Aussies there, that flip-flops the results again. Would see them move into the final race. It's all snakes and ladders out here. We can see that the Canadians have got some pace back, and I'm assuming the same for the Spanish on the other side. A good example of the rich getting richer today.
Well, the gap between 1st and 9th is really only about 200 to 300 meters. And Stevie, one big gust across the course, as it's sitting right now around 13 kilometers an hour, could change things dramatically.
Massively, and we'll look at those results here. Look, GBR up to 3rd. They're some 160 meters ahead of Australia, it's showing at the moment. Perhaps Ben Ainsley has found more wind. We're on board US here. 1 minute till this race terminates. Can they make it to the finish? Can they get it done?
So if no one crosses the finish line in 1 minute, it will stand as Canada getting the win, Spain, Australia, Great Britain, and Switzerland, France, USA, New Zealand, and Denmark. And that's where the points will be handed out, as it is the last gate you went around when the race is terminated. Chris Draper on board Canada.
Big gain for the British boat here. They need to make this next scoring gate here, Todd. They've got to get that far into the race. If we don't get to this next gate, there is no race.
Right.
It won't even go back to the top, so it's tense times for the crew. Great Britain, it's a huge moment, but look up on the foils, Australia. They're up to speed. Time's getting tight. 20 seconds to go. If they don't make the finish, the race will unfortunately be null and void, and that could be a big disastrous moment for some of these crews. Canada especially, can they get it in there in time?
Canada's got 10 seconds to cross that finish line to make this official, and this is going to be very close.
Oh, it's so close.
I don't think they're going to get it.
Oh, no.
Race terminated.
Oh, Melanie Roberts.
Seconds away, and Melanie Roberts, the race manager, terminates race number 5.
Oh, no.
I'll tell you what, the big winners on that one, Stevie, for my money, have got to be New Zealand and the USA. But for Canada and Spain and Great Britain, a big missed opportunity.
Oh, that's huge, because the Australians were quite well back. And, yeah, wow, what a moment. That's a nightmare there for those crews. Look at the Canadians. Phil's not going to be happy. This could have got him right back in with a shot of the final and going into the 6th race.
And if you're on the American boat, you're thinking, no harm, no foul, because that one just gets washed away.
Some contact in the fleet, so that's good points for us. Nice. Now over, boys, girls.
We'll do a right turn and start up towards Mark 1. Sorry about that start.
So the word filtering down through the fleet that the race has been terminated, so they will head back to the start area and get set for a potential race number 6. Again, racing time 14 minutes. That race terminated just 3 seconds before Canada was able to cross the line and take the win.
Well, here we go, back to the start of that race, and it was a big moment with the Australians here. They dived in at the bottom, shut the door on New Zealand, but it looks so close. I'm intrigued. They must have just avoided contact somehow. Incredible judgment by Slingsby, and with 10 seconds to go, well, the gap looked pretty tight to me, an arm's width away, it would appear. Great Britain and Denmark, there you go at the top of the line. They managed to turn the boat down, and they looked like they got the best start, but actually it was Canada made this Mark 1 in first place.
And while the speeds definitely aren't as high as we saw yesterday, there is still plenty of action with the teams battling it out to make that final race. At every gate, we had plenty of place changes and battles. Maybe not the tight, close calls we saw yesterday, but the results just as vital. Disappointing to have the race terminated only moments before the Canadians crossed the line, but that's sailing.
You saw just how close it was as Canada was set to cross the line. The race terminated. So we go back to the event leaderboard. It is still New Zealand leading by 1 point over Jimmy Spithill and the Americans in second. And then it's Great Britain sitting in third. 1 point advantage over France. Can they hold off as we've got one more race to go? So the battle really, Stevie, for my money, is between Great Britain, France, and Australia in that run. It looks like New Zealand and USA are going to be safe into that podium race.
Well, yeah, I think that's right, and hopefully we can go down and join Pete Burling. Pete, that was a pretty tense affair, that race. The Australians seemed to shut the door on you at the start, but, well, look like you're good for the final now.
Yeah, well, the Australians kind of obviously came right in front of us and then hit the start mark and made life pretty hard for both of us, but no, we had plenty of opportunities through that race and just made a couple of bad decisions. You know, it's a very different day to yesterday.
This is the race committee. We will be cancelling the final fleet race and rolling straight into the final. We will be doing a full course reset first.
Okay, Pete, well, we've just heard news from Melanie Roberts there. They're cancelling the final fleet race. You're straight into the final, so that means you've made a third final in a row. What's going to be the key priorities in this final 3-boat race now for you?
Yeah, well, I'm not actually sure who we're in with this damage thing going on with the French and the US, and maybe you could tell me there, but it'll just be waiting to see what the breeze does, to be honest. Really hoping this nicer breeze fills in from the right. You know, it's been such an amazing weekend here in Saint-Tropez, and just seeing all the boats around the course and the amount of people on shore cheering us on makes it pretty motivating to try and put on a good show in this final race.
Well, there we go. I think you're up against USA and Great Britain, depending on whether or not the French and US penalty points thing comes out. We'll let you know. We're all looking forward to hearing from Craig Mitchell on that. Pete, good luck. Go get yourself ready for the final.
Hey, thanks,
so
mate.
Peter Burling and the Kiwis looking to make it 3 in a row as the 6th and final fleet race has been canceled. Getting the word moments ago from Melanie Roberts.
This is the race committee. We will be cancelling the final fleet race and rolling straight into the final. We will be doing a full course reset first.
So the official word coming down, Mother Nature not at play today here on the French Riviera, as we will go straight in to the big podium final here at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. It will be New Zealand, the USA, and Great Britain to battle it out. And we welcome you to the Rockwool Denmark Sail Grand Prix.
Yeah, good.
gets the win here in Copenhagen. It's time for the final. Just 3 teams, 8-team crew, and 1 show-stopping race. The pressure is on. Who will take the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix? Well, despite light winds, the final is set. New Zealand, USA, and Great Britain will battle it out here on the French Riviera to see who walks away with the 10 points. I'll tell you what, in the States, you'd call this the Mount Rushmore of drivers. Ben Ainslie, look at the numbers on him. 4 Olympic gold medals, 1 silver, 11 World Championships, and an America's Cup. Not bad in SailGP fleet race as well, going 10 of 47. Jimmy Spithill, you know him well. Remember back in San Francisco, down to New Zealand, and he comes back with a vengeance to pick up his first of 2 America's Cup wins. He also has 3 World Championships and 8 wins in SailGP fleet races. So Spithill looking to get the Americans back on pace here in Season 3. And maybe the hottest driver in SailGP right now. He's won the last 2 events to go along with that Olympic gold medal, 2 silvers, 9 World Championships, and SailGP final races won. He is 2 for 2 to go along with those 2 America's Cups. So Peter Burling and crew looking very good. Can they make it 3 events in a row? Well, while we have a moment, let's go on board with Great Britain SailGP. Ben Ainslie, it has been a very turbulent week, not only for the events that took place in the UK with the passing of Her Majesty, but with the weather that you had yesterday and then a whole 180-degree turn from what you have today. How are you managing to keep your emotions in check knowing that you've got 1 more race to walk away with this title?
Well, it's a completely different day out here. Like I said, it's chalk and cheese compared with yesterday. And it's a totally different game, being patient, trying to keep the boat going, rather than trying to slow it down a little bit, we were trying to do yesterday at times, and trying to find the pressure. So it's a big challenge for all of the teams. We just about coped all right, got ourselves into this final race, and see how that goes. But all to play for.
Hey Ben, and well, you gave us a few grey hairs in that last race. It was pretty tense stuff, despite being slow speed. How was it on board? What are the priorities now for the final? Are you going to have to be super aggressive, or is it too light for super aggressive?
Yeah, I think it's too light, Stevie, and you know, you call us a lot. I know about just in this light stuff, getting the boat going off the start line and just not trying to be too clever and get yourself caught out low and slow, and then the rebuild's just so painful. So yeah, trying to find a nice little lane. We seem to have good speed when we get going, so that'll be our priority.
Well, be a brilliant way to bounce back from this week. So yeah, but best of luck. Get yourself ready for the final. Looking forward to it.
So Ben Ainslie and his group will get ready as they are into the podium race, taking on the Kiwis and the Americans, the top 3 boats, as we check in down on the water and Lisa Darmanin.
Well, it is a tricky day out here, but what I'm observing over the last few races is that there's a bit of a pattern, and that is that the edges are really good. The wind is funneling down the Saint-Tropez side, as I've said before, but there seems to be something on the other side. So I think the teams that go across the middle of the course are really getting caught out because there's less wind there, but also because they're having to do more maneuvers. So I'm expecting a split fleet again. And I also think that the start is critical, but not as critical as we've seen in the sense of top speed, but it's about patience and picking your mode right. And for me right now, Ben Ainslie is the person that's picking the breeze correctly. He's really flexible with his strategy and his mode, so I'd be worried about them if I was Pete or Jimmy.
Well, Lisa, while we have you on comms, you are the closest to the track right now. What kind of forecast are you carrying? Is there anything coming this way? Is anything going to be building for the final?
Well, unfortunately, the wind's just a little bit too left for the sea breeze. So it definitely hasn't changed since the beginning of the day. We're not seeing that build that we were anticipating. So if anything, I think the previous race was lighter than we're seeing now. A little bit more breeze now for the start and probably a bit more consistent across the course. So at the beginning of the day, it was towards gate 2 that we saw the breeze and not much at the start, but now it's a bit more consistent across the course. So hopefully a bit more speed to get off the start line.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. We are still counting down to the final, the podium race today. It'll be New Zealand, the USA, and Great Britain. And while we have a moment, let's take you back to yesterday, race number 1, and some of the highlights we had on a very blustery Saturday.
We can see the wind looks pretty big. It is going to be a case of timing. It's no problem taking off in this much wind, but where's the space? Great Britain towards the downwind end, 38 kilometres an hour is the wind on the course at the moment. Where are New Zealand off to the left of our screen? It's going to be a fast, late run from them. But in the middle of the line, Jimmy Spitzel on board USA. It's USA, Denmark and Australia who look pretty good. France, here they come. Quentin Delapierre, line's going to turn white. Wow, what a start. And New Zealand are there well out the back here. That magic trick's not worked today. It's Spitzel and he's sending it hard in towards Mark 1.
So here we go, race number 1, the first race of 3, and they're on their way to mark number 1. The Aussies already having an issue there, and look at the Americans having a great start.
Look at the speed, over 90 kilometres an hour. It's going to get fast, and as they bear away from the wind here, it's going to be dangerous.
They come into the danger zone at mark number 1.
Oh, it's all pretty controlled there, Great Britain. What a start by Ben Ainsley. Well, he's back with a bang after that disappointment in Copenhagen. Great start, great first leg, and look at the turn there. Smooth work, turning and manoeuvring the boats in this much wind is going to take a lot of choreography. It's going to be hard. That yellow line on the screen, that's the ley line. If you're sailing parallel to that, it should mean you're in good shape to make the next gate, but it's going to be hard today, Todd.
At gate number 2, it is Great Britain that takes the lead. It's Australia, New Zealand, Spain, Canada, and the Kiwis all coming around. And what has happened to the Americans? They had such a great start, and now they find themselves in dead last.
Here we go. Going to turn the boat away from the wind. Watch the top of the mast. Expect to see some big acceleration.
Happy and relatively calm, and here comes the rest of the fleet here in race number 1. It'll be the Kiwis and then the Aussies, followed by the Canadians.
Oh, 97 on top of the New Zealand mast at the top of the rig there. That was so fast on that bear away. And the French, first to take the left turn, split the course. It's all action out here. Look how tight the fleet is, Todd. 22 seconds from 7th to 1st. There's nothing in this.
And important to note here, the Brits have broken the speed record already. Race 1, we've got a new top speed of 98.5 kilometers an hour. That was in that last gate. Absolutely ripping.
So they improve upon what they did last year in Aarhus. They went 98.3. Now it's up to 98.5 for Ben Ainsley and Great Britain SailGP, and they still have the lead.
Mark 1 is moving, FYI.
Hannah Diamond just prepping the boat there for the next leg. That big round up there. They controlled that well. Luke Parkinson, flight controller there, but it's so tight. The first 3 boats, there's nothing in it.
Ben Ainsley got the whole shot at mark number 1. He maintains his lead as Australia now starting to edge closer on the map. It's Great Britain and New Zealand top 3.
Big manoeuvre here. Ainsley must divide Australia out of this turn. Slingsby knows what's coming. How can he defend it? Oh, he made it so hard for Ben to miss him, but now he's slow. Has he made it to mark 5? It's going to be tight. They need to turn left. Then it's a sprint to the finish. New Zealand, they slide inside Great Britain. Australia look like they've made it. It's going to be advantage Australia, but they're slow. New Zealand nearly twice the speed for the sprint to the finish.
So here we go. Great Britain goes from 1st to 3rd, and now it's a drag race between Australia and the Kiwis.
Watch the top of the mast here. This is the danger angle. We're going to see speed records up for grabs over red there on Australia. They've got to keep clear of New Zealand. Oh my word!
They dip it.
Oh, he's crashed down. New Zealand. What a move from Burling.
Peter Burling was in dead last at mark number 1, and here he is taking the win in race number 1.
Oh, here we go, and Jimmy Spittle from nowhere on board USA. He's charging through. Ainsley looks like he's going to get second, and can Australia make the turn down to the finish?
This is the umpires. Penalty Denmark, relative Canada.
Oh, it's at the back of the pack. Look at this for Slingsby. He was first at the last mark, Todd. He's absolutely dead in the water here. Can the French get round? Can Australia cling on to 5th? I think he has.
And what a difference 24 hours make as we are back here on the French Riviera. Event 5, Season 3 of the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. We're getting ready for the podium race, which will feature New Zealand, the USA, and Great Britain, but a long night for the short cruise. So they go from the high wind wings, Stevie, and they jump all the way up to those low wind. These things, we're talking 18 to 29 meters.
Yeah, incredible technology. They've got to fit hydraulic systems inside all those wings. But of course, as soon as the wind drops, we are powered by nature. So as soon as that wind drops, we need to find more power. So we give ourselves a bigger engine. And that is a massive engine.
And this is the first time they had to make that change. It's not just the wing, too. The foil setups is different.
That's right. They put in what they call the light air boards from the high-speed board. So they're bigger, they have more drag, but that drag gives you more area to lift you up out of the water. So yeah, it's a huge change, a huge ask on the shore crew.
And it was Brad Marsh and the tech team that got it all done in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, so behind us we've got the boats coming out and we've got the wings rolling into the shed. The wings are modular. We take them apart in the centre and we add more into the middle to make it a much bigger wingspan. Just 100 people are going to be working till at least midnight. Some people are going through the night. So for the wing team, we're looking at about an hour and a half per wing. We can do 2 wings at once. For the foil team, we're changing the rudders from the high-speed rudders to the light air rudders, but they have 18 rudders. So they're going to be here through the night for that changeover. We're changing the dagger boards from the high-speed dagger boards to the light air dagger boards. As the boats roll into the tent, we lift the boats into the sky. We take the boards out, we put the new ones back in, and we put the boat back down the trolley. In Saint-Tropez, that gets a little bit harder because we don't have enough space here. We have to do 1 boat at a time, roll it out, take the next boat in. Yeah, one of the fantastic things we've got with the F50 is the ability to change configuration and sail in any condition.
So hats off to Brad Marsh and the shore crews for getting it done overnight, changing out from the smaller wings to the biggest wings, something they have not done in the history of SailGP. As we take you back down on the water, there you see USA SailGP, Jimmy Spithill, and the driver. Jimmy, you've had to learn to adapt across your career, and now you adapt from the conditions yesterday to what you have today. As we come up on 7 minutes to go, what will be the strategy in this one-off race?
Oh, I think it's just trying, just like the fleet racing, just trying to get off the line well, in good shape, and sail the breeze that you see. It's a very, very tricky day, changing quickly, so yeah, it's going to be a tough race for everyone.
Jimmy, this is probably nice to have you back in a final. It's been a while. What does it feel like to be back in there? Is this now a chance for you to put in an aggressive move at the start, and are we going to see you try and mix it up and get this season up and running?
It's pretty tough being aggressive in this stuff, but I think it's more about being smooth and calm and just trying to keep the boat moving. So, yeah, it's very dynamic. We're seeing a huge wind shifts on the course now. So, yeah, even this race will be much, much different than the first two.
And a bit of pressure on Emily Ryu. Emily, welcome to Team USA. You've got a big role in this tactician as this one-off race. What are you seeing out there, and where are you seeing the most pressure as it stands right now?
I didn't feel under pressure. I just focus on my job on board, talking about pressure and about the opponent, so I feel confident for this final.
And you're confident, Emily. Are you seeing the left-hand side of the course or the right-hand side of the course the best place to go for the most wind?
This is my secret, guys.
Copy that. Okay, I'm not sure any of the other teams are listening, Emily, but as long as you make sure you tell Jimmy, then that sounds like a fair enough secret.
So we are getting set for the podium race, the last race here at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. Yesterday, the winds were blasting at 40 kilometers an hour. They have dropped down to around 12 to 14. We check in down on the water once again with Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Todd, what's interesting is they've actually moved the race course down. So I think before I was saying that there was more breeze down near gate 2, so they moved the whole course down. The start is further down. So basically everything that the teams have learned so far today goes out the window. The other thing that we're seeing is that the course axis has changed, which means the wind has gone 10 degrees towards the right, which is more the direction that we are looking for. So a little bit more breeze increasing. I've seen the teams foiling around in training before the final, so hopefully we have a little bit more of an exciting race for our spectators at home.
That's news we've heard all day, Stevie and Emily. They are foiling.
Yeah, they're going to need to be. I mean, it's what's so interesting is we've got two of the most aggressive starters in sailboat racing, Jimmy Spithill and Ben Ainsley, and both of them talking about needing to be smooth and slick. Partly down to the wind speed, but I wonder as well, I think one of the silkiest sailors in sailing at the moment is Pete Burling. You know, he's used to getting these boats going fast, sailing smooth, sailing well, and perhaps not renowned for being all that aggressive, despite what he did to Tom Slingsby yesterday out there on the windy day. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I still potentially could see some fireworks from Ainsley or Spithill back in the final, first time in a final for a while. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
So we are coming up on 8.5 minutes to go until the start of the podium race as they get the course all set to go. While we wait, let's take you back to yesterday, race 3 and the high wind highlights.
Canada coming back looking well timed. They're coming in fast. New Zealand charging through the gap here. We've got to watch for the line to turn. White, how's your timing here as we come into the start?
Canada.
Oh, it goes clear there. Great start by Jimmy Spithill again. Good start by Phil Robertson on Canada, and it's the Kiwis in the jam in the sandwich. Can they slide out and get the hull shot at Mark 1?
High speeds for race number 3 as we get ready to wrap up the day. Day number 1 of the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix at mark number 1. And look at the speeds. Everyone over 80 kilometers an hour.
Big pressure moment here. Let's watch. And they keep it under control at full speed. Canada get a little bit low. America get a little bit high. Look at the speeds.
A lot of bravery on board the American boat as they take it very high. It's Australia, New Zealand, the USA, your top 3.
There we go. Australia going downwind at over 50 knots in old money there. 93 kilometres an hour in a straight line downwind. And it's New Zealand flying past them here. All going to be about the quality of this manoeuvre. Australia looks slow. They're in the water. They're really, really slow. Oh, full reset for Australia. New Zealand have stuck the manoeuvre and they're going to boost out in front. Top speed, 96 kilometres an hour for New Zealand, and they just blew straight over the top of the Australians. Look how tight this is. New Zealand will be ahead. Switzerland, they're on the inside. They will have the right of way. Denmark must keep clear. Can Great Britain thread the needle? Great work by the British. Squeeze inside America. It's Great Britain up to second. America in third, and the rest of the pack, well, they're really, really slow. They're off the foils. Opportunity for Slingsby to get back in the race.
And a similar situation that happened in race number 2 when Switzerland went to the other side of the course, dropped both holes in the water, and everyone had to find a way around them.
Yeah, Nathan tried to just minimise the distance, but he got slow. He fell off the foils. Everyone else had to keep clear of him, and so he's parked the rest of the fleet behind him. Great news for the boats ahead, and the Swiss are up and going into the race. But for Spain, Canada and Denmark, wow, that could be so costly. Hannah Diamond's calling the American boat being ahead of the British at the moment, but they will be coming back together later.
And here we've got the speeds, the top 3 boats. The Kiwis still the fastest on the water at 72.5 kilometres an hour.
Oh, Emily, look at that. The British boat flying too high in a straight line, and they've crashed down again. Don't know if that was a mechanical issue, an unforced error, or an uncharacteristic error, probably. They've lost 100 metres in the blink of an eye, and they will potentially be full of water. What a moment there. Well, that's going to take the pressure off New Zealand, and Jimmy Spithill on board the American boat here as they're sailing parallel to that yellow ley line. No more manoeuvres before they need to turn at the next gate. Here we go. Let's watch the acceleration here, Todd. It's going to be a big bear away. They're turning the boat away from the wind now, and they're going to accelerate so hard. Good control on board the New Zealand boat. Next up for the test, it's Hans Henken on board the American boat, the flight controller. They look a little heeled over into it. Can they control the boat as they bear away? They turn it away well. And France, Quentin Delapierre, he's come from nowhere and he's up to third, the local team. Good job. And it's tight in the pack now. Big loss for Great Britain on this upwind leg.
Nathan Atwood just sorted things out. They've moved up to 4th place with Australia right behind them in 5th. Gate number 4, leg 4. Here we go. Race number 3. It is New Zealand out in front, the winners of the last 2 events, and the winner of race number 1 today. They are back on form.
Joalet cooking what's happening behind. French boat's going to follow around in second. Oh, it was pretty calm. Nice job by the French there. They've done a nice comeback here, really tight. Now, fourth place, Switzerland. Don't think Ben Ainsley's entitled to room in there. It was very tight. It'd be interesting if that goes to the umpires. Really tight the circle. Ainsley and Great Britain must keep clear. He must keep clear. Switzerland can turn him up into the wind.
This is the umpires. Penalty, GBR, relative Switzerland, not entitled to room at the mark.
Oh, there you go, got to say. He's got to let the Swiss boat back pass. I had to agree with him, really. It all happened there, but Craig Mitchell, I think it did look like that to me. It was a very late change. Great Britain must drop behind. Every point counts. That could be really crucial.
And in this mark, it will be the Kiwis. They'll make the left-hand turn and watch the speed. Watch the acceleration.
Come the French. Now, how do they go on that mark? It's a bit of a bravery contest as they turn towards that finish, as New Zealand now, look, just meters away.
Race number 3, it will go the way of the last 2 wins. It's the Kiwis once again on top here in Saint-Tropez. How about the French put on a show for the locals?
And not just coming in second here for the French. The French have also set another new top speed of the day. Stevie, 99.9 kilometers an hour. They are just off of that 100 that we've been looking for.
And no one has left this scenery as we get ready for the podium race. It'll be between New Zealand, the USA, and Great Britain. A lot of work to get things ready as we are under 3 minutes away. We want to take this opportunity to check in with the head of tech with SailGP, Brad Marsh, his crew. Not only did they change over the wings and the dagger boards overnight, but they're in charge of changing the course, as Lisa Darmanin reported moments ago. Brad, if you can hear us, tell us what is incorporated in moving all the buoys and getting the course in the right position for optimum sailing.
Yes, we've really struggled with the sea breeze today. It hasn't established itself like we would like to. So we're constantly having to change the course. And for the podium race, we're resetting every single mark of the racetrack.
Not only moving the marks, but Brad, I imagine you have to do it in collaboration with the super yachts that are out there and getting them to move if you need to rotate the course.
Yeah, it's a fantastic day out here, and a lot of people on the water watching us in their own boats, and we're having to shift all of the boundary boats to move to where we want to set up the new course.
All right, how confident you are what you made, the changes overnight, we're now going to the 29-meter wings, and of course the low wind boards that these boats will be able to put on a show for the folks here in Saint-Tropez?
It's been a difficult day to put on a show with the breeze not quite playing ball, but really confident for this podium race. We're going to have a spectacular race.
All right, Brad, thank you to you and your team, and we hope you guys get some rest in the next 24 hours. So, Emily, Stevie, it is all on. It'll be New Zealand, the USA, and Great Britain. Winner takes all, and that's going to be a huge 10 points for someone. I know the Kiwis have won the last 2 events, so they've got to be the odds-on favorite. Great Britain missing out on the last event because of damage, and the USA still looking for their first ever SailGP regatta win.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you've got to say New Zealand are the form team coming into this, but for the British getting back into a final, it was probably absolutely essential. It happened really after such a disappointing event. And USA, well, their season hasn't started. A win here, that could be the kickstart, the jump start that they need to their season.
Under 6 minutes to go as the teams make their way around, going through their paces, trying to find win. We had a chance to talk with Emily Ryu, the tactician for the USA. She was not going to give Stevie any information, but they are getting a feel for where the course is, trying to find out where the breeze is building, get familiar with the new course. As Brad Marsh just told us, Emily, moments ago, they've changed things dramatically. So how hard is this as you get, what, less than 5 minutes to kind of familiarize yourself with what you'll be sailing?
Well, when we watched the last 2 races, we saw a few different trends that paid every time, whether it was turning straight away at Mach 1, the breeze along the seawall, and those are things that the more you sail, the more you notice and pick up on and get used to, so you can start to plan your strategy. But when you move a course, start somewhere new, you want to make the most of every minute you've got to kind of sail around that course, work out where you can expect little gusts of breeze to funnel through the mountains. and, you know, just check it out and see how everything's working.
Under 5 minutes to go, Stevie, one of the best scenes we've seen all day. Great Britain up and foiling. So if you are Ben Ainslie or Jimmy Spithill or Pete Burling, can you count on foiling, or do you have to anticipate you might be flying H1?
I think they're going to have to anticipate needing a bit of everything. They're going to need all the tricks in the book. I think the first boat that gets up on the foils is going to be able to open a pretty big gap. In that start line, when all 3 boats are around, there's more disturbed, turbulent wind. It's going to be hard to accelerate. Any boat that can find space, get the jump off the start line and then be in charge of their first decision, I would expect to then be able to extend a good lead. These are the best sailors in the world. They should be making the right decision if they get the opportunity to do that.
All right, let's take a moment and meet the crews. Stevie, let's start off with the team coming into 3rd place into this podium race. It'll be Team Great Britain under the guidance of Sir Ben Ainslie.
Well, that's right. It's a team that doesn't need too much introduction. Of course, they've been winning in SailGP before, but they've had a tricky last 2 events. Ben Ainslie on the screen there, centre, well, he needs no introduction, 4-time gold medalist. But probably the most important 2 people on the boat in this race, I think, is going to be Hannah Diamond, the strategist, who's actually on the other side of the boat at the moment, just checking the breeze, and Ian Jensen, directly in front of Ben Ainslie, the wing trimmer. Big wing sail, massive engine. Can he use it to 100% today?
Nick Hutton, Matt Gottrell will be the big power arm guys there that'll give them the boost and give them the hydraulics to move that massive 29-meter wing around. The Americans coming to this one, and Emily, we have not seen them in a final in a while, but Jimmy Spithill brings a lot of talent to the show.
We saw a lot of them performing well in season 2, and here we've got them back again, back in a roll. We've got Jimmy still on the helm, Paul Campbell-James wing trim, Hans Henkin flight controller getting to grips with his new role now, Andrew Campbell and Mac Agnès on the grinding, and we spoke to Amelie Rioux earlier, strategist on loan from the French team, secret weapon, knows the area well. And, you know, it looks like she's spilling some secrets to the Americans.
Under 3 minutes to go, and the team, the hottest team in SailGP right now, the winners of the last 2 events, it is Peter Burling and the Kiwis. And Stevie, everyone's wondering, can they make it 3 in a row? You want to talk about talent and familiarity, just look no further than the Kiwis.
Well, that's right, of course. Plymouth, they made their first final, took their first wing, and they've got, you know, Pete Burling, gold medalist, Blair Tuke, gold medalist, Joe Allais, gold medalist. So there's plenty of talent on that boat. No team other than the Australians have ever won 3 in a row in SailGP, so big moment for the New Zealand crew here. They are on a roll. They've got to be the favourites. They're the form team, but you're only as good as your last race.
Remember, they came into this race just 4 points behind the 2-time reigning and defending champions Australia, who were sitting on 36 points. The Kiwis came in on 32 points. So with the Australians not being in this final, it's a chance for Pete Burling to potentially put 3 points onto him and close that gap even more. But I have a feeling the Americans and, of course, Great Britain, they are going to be inspired to take this win here in Saint-Tropez.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, for the British and the USA, they're really in pursuit of these places in the final because they've got to move themselves back up the leaderboard. And, well, the New Zealand crew, they're on a real surge at the moment. They've been leading the fleet away. They've been raising the benchmark, raising the bar. But here we go. Different game today. It's light, it's tricky. Details.
Emily, you got to calm yourself as we approach 90 seconds to go for the podium race, the final race here in Saint-Tropez. How do you bring your heart rate down and just focus on this one race?
In a sense, it's about just treating it like any other race. These guys always want to win, so you've got to zone out the noise, focus on what you do best and what they know how to do. These guys know how to sail, so they just need to go out, get round the course, and just do it faster than everyone else.
1:08 to the start of the podium race here. This will be the final race at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. This is event number 5 of season 3.
Big gaps between the boats here, Todd. Look at this, quite light wind. It's come round more from Saint-Tropez shoreline. You can expect a gustier wind. Looks to me like the British crew are setting up to try and be on the inside at Mark 1, inside of the turn. They're going to have the shortest distance, but New Zealand, well, they're the boat that's got the opportunity to be on the foils, I think. It's going to be interesting. Who's judged this right? 35 seconds to go. Screen, there you go. Start line, left-hand side of our screen. Ben Ainslie, he's lining himself up pole position, but New Zealand, he's on a charge. How's your timing, Peter Burling, out the back there? He's popping it up on the foils. 24 seconds to go. Can he stay on the foils to the gun? 33 kilometres an hour. 19 seconds. He's early for me.
Early.
He's definitely early. He's going to have to turn up. It's going to be tight at the top of the line. It's a bit of a shame there. America now. Jimmy Spithill turns down. Let's watch for New Zealand and Great Britain. The light goes white and the race is live. New Zealand are early, they're going to be over. It's going to be a false start there for the New Zealand boat.
This is the umpires, OCS New Zealand, over the line early.
Oh, he looked early for a while, Todd.
Delayed start.
He needs to go back behind the other two boats at Mark 1, and Peter Burling is going to need to work out how to overtake in a final if he hopes to win the race from here.
So to absolve that penalty, the Kiwis, who are a little too aggressive at the start, will have to drop behind Great Britain and the USA, in effect handing them a huge advantage here on the first lap, the first reach down to Mark 1.
Big advantage there. Jimmy Spittle trying to build. Jimmy Spittle right in the middle. If you're in the middle of the bunch, it's hard. Kiwis still got a red light flashing on the boat, still got a penalty, but Great Britain up and foiling. They're going to lead at Mark 1, and it's advantage Ainsley. Here we go. So, see, Mark 1 there, right-hand side of our screen. New Zealand, they have to watch out for USA here. They've still got that penalty on them. They've got to let, there go, USA turn. Penalty should clear here fairly soon for New Zealand, and the race will be live for everyone. Who stays on the foils? Great jibe by the USA. Can Britain? No, Britain force it. They fall off the foils. That's disaster for the British crew. They need to get things flying again soon. Brilliant work by Hans Henken on the flight control of the US boat, and the US are going to streak away after Mark 1 with New Zealand as well on the foils. It's going to be tight down towards gate 2.
So at mark number 1, it's the Americans, Great Britain and New Zealand in third. Don't count out Peter Burling just yet, but a great start for Jimmy Spittle and the Americans as they look for their first SailGP overall regatta win.
You can see, Todd, when you see the boats really jump up in the air, we can see the speeds left-hand side of screen, 30 kilometers an hour. Emily's told us that's the magic number to get up on the foils, and at the moment they're all just hovering around that, but Jimmy Spittle stretching away here.
We can see the wind speed on the top left of our screen, 14 to 16 kilometers an hour, and that's crucial because it takes about 16 kilometers an hour of breeze to get up onto the foils. So in these lulls in pressure, they're going to drop off the foils, and it's going to be hunting for every last bit of pressure to keep them moving.
Puts a premium on the strategists as they are constantly looking for those dark patches on the water, looking for more breeze. As Lisa Darmanin reported, the wind coming across the mountains, but it's been shifty today. Puffy, Stevie, it's really a little bit of black magic trying to find the breeze out on the water on the Mediterranean today.
Yeah, I think it's making the best of what you're in at the time and not trying to force things. Every time we see all three boats down, 2 hulls in the water, we can expect a reset, a restart effectively. So it's not going to be over until it's over, that's for absolute sure. Gate 2, well, it's taken a while to arrive. All the boats, look at the angle, they're sailing nearly across those ladder lines. They're not making any progress towards the next gate at the moment. The wind's changing direction all the time, but you can't turn the direction of the boat all the time because that loses you so much speed. Jimmy, slow turn in there, and we see the New Zealand boat, look, down under 20 kilometers an hour. They look really slow. Jimmy Spittle on board. Here we go, on board all 3 boats. All struggling for speed here at the moment. Here we go, USA turn. Are they setting up to turn with 2 turns and turn to the right, or will they try and go to the left? If they try and go to the left, New Zealand could be an issue later on down here.
You see the speeds dropping below 10 kilometers an hour for the Americans as they look for that wind to pick up. Here come the Kiwis off to their left-hand side. Great Britain currently sitting in 2nd place as this is just leg 2 of 5 in the podium race. New Zealand, the USA, and Great Britain battling it out for top honors here in Saint-Tropez.
New Zealand try and sneak inside the Americans. The New Zealand has the right of way, but it looks to me like USA will sneak round the outside. It's really, really light. It's so light, the breeze here. Great Britain, they're the big losers on that downwind leg. Burling keeps himself in the match, probably a bit aggressive with his turn. He's going to lose a lot of speed here. Who's going to find the next win?
And there's the head-to-head of the average speeds. The Americans slightly slower than the British, but they have spent more time on the foils. The British, we've seen, they favour this fast foiling speed, but in doing so, they end up sailing extra distance. And today, it looks like that strategy isn't necessarily paying off.
And Stevie, at this point, if you're the Americans, you're just praying for some gusty wind because right now, it is the Kiwis parked in front of the British. And so if Jimmy Spittle can get some breeze, he could sail away.
right now, Todd, if I'm the Americans, I'm thanking my lucky stars that everyone's taken the same turning mark as I have. Everyone's following me. If they're following me, they've got very much less chance of finding different wind because I'm going to get it to it first. So for the US, that was a nice sight, but there's a lot of race left here. And we can see the British crew barely able to turn the boat as they try and move away from the New Zealand crew. All boats so slow. Whoever finds the next wind, and I think I can maybe see some wind coming off the Saint-Tropez shoreline, could be good for the New Zealand crew if they can get behind America, but right now it's a powerful position for Jimmy Spithill.
A lot of chatter on board despite the fact that the wind on course averaging around 12.96 kilometers an hour.
Well, and we talked a moment ago, Todd, about them not making any progress up the ladder. Look at that USA. They're already pointing up towards gate 3. Great news for Jimmy Spithill and his crew. New Zealand, well, they're going to struggle to make a move from there.
In just the past 20 seconds, we've seen the US SailGP team put 50 meters on the Kiwi boat.
So they are H1 flying that hole, and you saw how gingerly Emily Ryu, the tactician, crossed over.
Still the pressure looks up though,
Jimmy Spithill there, just talking about where he thinks the wind is.
We've got to be down, coming down. Let's go fast.
Let's go fast. That seems a good strategy to
Still
me.
got to keep the pressure though. You see him, Rob?
The wind is up towards this yellow line on the screen to the left of the US boat, and it's a constant battle for Jimmy Spithill. Do we aim at the marks or do we try and find that bit more wind? We can see now Great Britain dead in the water. The most wind is on the New Zealand boat as it is at the moment.
The course has been shortened. You will finish through gate 4. We will shorten the downwind leg as well.
Okay, so once again, Melanie Roberts, the race manager, says the race has been shortened to leg 4 at that gate, and they will shorten the course as well. So you see this buoys being brought in. Great news if you're an American fan.
Great news, but Jimmy Spitthill's got the decision of the weekend coming up here. Does he turn left or does he turn right at the top of the course?
So where would you go?
Oh, Todd.
Because I know Jimmy always listens to you.
I'm sat here. I don't have to make those decisions. I think I'd be turning right. There seems to be more wind coming from Saint-Tropez. It's an extra manoeuvre, but I'm going to head back towards that Saint-Tropez shore.
Emily, do you concur?
Oh, I'd be getting nervous right now if I was Jimmy. You've got the Kiwis just behind. We've seen them flying a hull for a bit longer. They've closed that gap down, now only 120 meters behind. So, you know, there is a bit of pressure there, but it's what we love to see.
Emily Ryu makes the crossover. You saw her constantly looking for the wind as the strategist for Jimmy Spithill. She makes a turnover, and here comes the big decision. This could be the move of the match.
Oh, I don't know if that's the right mark for Jimmy.
Oh, so he opts to go left, Stevie.
Yeah, that's a big call. He's turned instantly. He's trying to head back to that wind, but look at the wind the British are in, out that side. They're up on the foils. That's where I'm anticipating the boat's heading back for. I'm not entirely sure if that was the right mark for Jimmy to choose there. He's so slow here. Yeah, Ben Ainsley likes right gate. Oh, it's so tight. It was a big lead for the Americans. It may just about be enough, but look at the speed of the British boat coming in here.
Watch those speeds. New Zealand parked around 6 kilometers an hour. The British team coming in as they slow down now, and they are going to make that right turn as well. Surprising, because they are behind really a speed bump in the form of the Kiwis.
Well, they are. That's true a little bit, Todd, but sometimes if you know it's the wrong thing to do, then don't do it.
He's not going to... Okay, you're going to be above them. Okay, trim me up, please, Mad Dog. That hold. Could be very close to which one. Okay, pressing the speed. Quite thin, I think. Trimming.
Okay, it looks like maybe just in the nick of time, the Americans are back in the wind, still got an 80-meter lead. Nerves of steel, Jimmy Spithill there. That must have got tense when he was heading back across the course.
So the speed's coming up for Team USA, and is this the day the Americans walk away with their first victory in SailGP? The Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix looks to be going the way of Jimmy Spithill and the Americans, as their lead is now increased over 100 meters, and they are on the final leg here in France.
Well, and it could be about getting on the foils. There we go, the US pop up on the foils. It's tight. Andrew Campbell sat on the other side of the boat to everyone else. He's trying to find that final finish line here, the gate, just a few meters away, 100-meter lead. Oh, it's so tight here between the US and the Kiwi boat. The Kiwis turn over on top inside America, but I think it's too little too late. They're going to get the speed coming again. First on board the US boat, the hull's up. Can they get the boat flying?
Only a 50-meter lead here, neck and neck, have to keep the pace up.
And it is a slow climb to the finish line, but it looks like it will go the way of the stars and the stripes. Team USA should claim the victory here at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix. Next event coming up September 24th and 25th in Spain for Stevie Morrison and Emily, as well as Lisa Darman. And I'm Todd Harris saying so long from now from beautiful France.
Oh, USA!
They did it! Jimmy Spithill and the Americans have claimed the victory here at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix.
Oh, wow, the Kiwis were nearly back in the race there. It's going to be second place for Peter Burling's New Zealand, but what a comeback from the USA and Jimmy Spithill.
Their first victory as they take the overall in what has been a mixed bag of conditions. The Kiwis will take second, so in the last 3 events they've gone first, and second, and a nice bounce back for Great Britain after a turbulent week, not only on board but in their home country. They come and get into the podium race, and for Jimmy Spithill, wow, what a bounce back. He needed this, Stevie and Emily, in the worst kind of way.
Oh, they needed it so bad. I mean, it's been a disastrous start to the season, really, by their standards. You know, they're such high expectations. And, yeah, well, what a performance by this US crew. That's a big combat. And, really, they needed something to happen before the end of this European leg. And, well, with an event to spare, they've done that. But I think New Zealand, another second place. That's solid for the Kiwi boat. And Ben Ainsley back on the podium. I think there's probably going to be 3 happy teams out there overall, really.
And they will just crawl across the line, but the third place finish will be huge for them as they make it. And remember, they missed out in Copenhagen because of boat damage, and here they go. Ben Ainsley rallies the troops, and they come in and take third place here at the France Sail Grand Prix, brought to you by Range Rover.
Well, that start, New Zealand, they look like they'd timed things so well, foiling at 24 seconds to go. No other boat out of the water, but it was a bit too early for Burling and his crew. If he'd managed to do that 5 seconds later, it could have been perfect. He had to turn the boat up. Ben Ainsley, well, his timing was good. Jimmy Spithill's timing was good. Burling was over early, and Spithill, that opened the door for him. Well, it's been a while, but he knew how to walk through the door still, and he took the win. Fantastic.
And while the British team had a brilliant start, controlled their position, this jibe here saw them drop off the foils while letting the Americans and the Kiwis pass through. Gut-wrenching moment for the team as they did then start to lose this lead. Today was all about keeping up on the foils wherever we could. Important to note, only one team did a foiling maneuver today, and that was the Americans.
Well earned by Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP as they pick up the win and the 10 points. Coming into this event, they were in 7th place, sitting on 19 points. And Stevie, that 10 points will bump them up to 29, and that is huge as Spain and Cadiz is just around the corner.
Yeah, I think the slightly sobering noise that we'll wait for confirmation for the umpires is potential penalty points from the rest of it, but a great result for the US for sure.
Well, they haven't been able to celebrate like this in that shed for a while, and the Americans very happy with what they've just pulled off here. And so there it is. The Americans get the win and the 10 points that go along with it. New Zealand finishing in 2nd place, Great Britain in 3rd. They'll pick up 8. France bounces back. They just miss out on the podium. They'll get 7 points. Australia, probably a disappointing day for Tom Slingsby and company. They'll pick up the 6 points. Denmark in 6th place on 5. Spain 4. Switzerland, wow, they had their problems throughout the day, and they had flashes of brilliance, as Nathan Outridge is known to do. They pick up 3 points in a disappointing day for, of course, Phil Robertson in Canada, and they'll look to bounce back in 2 weeks' time in Spain. So we'll see what happens. But the big winners on the day, Jimmy Spithill, Team USA, they get it done on the Mediterranean. And we now go on board with USA SailGP. Jimmy Spithill, we'll start with you. It wasn't the most dynamic, flashiest race, but you get it done and you get the valuable 10 points. Congratulations.
Yeah, what a great result for the team. It's everyone's been really sort of digging it in, putting a lot of hard work in. We had some flashbacks there from last year here. And, you know, Rookie and I had quite the discussion at that last top mark, and he made a fantastic call. So, yeah, just a great overall result for the team, short team coaching. Really, really stoked to do this, and now we start our comeback on the season.
Jimmy, how about the foiling jibe at Mark 1 in the final? Hans Henken there next to you. Amelie wouldn't let us know the special secret, but what was Hans's secret to pull off that foiling jibe, Jimmy?
I mean, look, he's just had an incredible regatta. I mean, yesterday, to me, he really sort of set the standard, and that was some of the toughest sailing I've done in these sort of boats. So, yeah, look, there's been a lot of noise and a lot of narrative on the outside of the team about whether we should be doing different changes and about different people. And the thing I'm really proud of the team is we just didn't let any of that stuff affect us. We just we're really open, pretty candid, and with the, you know, just with that hunger to try and improve as we went out there race by race. So, yeah, very, very happy, and yeah, what a team effort.
Well, I don't know who would have been spreading those kind of rumours, Jimmy, but is Amelie in the background there? Amelie, you wouldn't tell us your special secret, Amelie. Maybe now you could give us a little bit of a secret. How did it go on board the racing with this American crew? You seem to be a magic ingredient in that strategy role, and that secret was clearly worth knowing.
Did you hear that? They were asking what was the secret. You reply.
I want to keep my secret for the season 3, guys. For the season 4.
Okay, well, there you go. I'm sure she'll probably be taking some of those secrets back to the French team with her.
And Jimmy, I got to ask you, you know, you talk a lot about the noise and the distractions and the people of our ilk that, you know, put those things out there. How do you maintain the focus amongst the team when you're not having the results?
Well, look, I think you just can't listen too much on what's being said outside, and to me that is the strength of a team, is a team that can, when all that stuff's going on, what are they going to do? And this team just sort of pulled one another together and refused to listen to it, and we knew we could get there. It was just going to take some time, and now we've got to build on this and look forward to the next event and the rest of the season.
Well, a great opportunity for Jimmy Spithill and the team to celebrate now here on the Mediterranean on what a amazing day, Stephen. When you look at the conditions, Emily, what they had yesterday and what they had to deal with the high winds, and then coming back today with a complete changeover on the boat, and then to find a way to get the victory.
Yeah, I mean, well, what a performance, really. They've held it together and they held their nerve. Been a real event for a bit of experience. Yesterday was at the top end, today at the very bottom end, and that experience, that composure, well, he never loses that, does he? Champagne moment, though, at the moment. Enjoy that.
Something they have not been able to do in quite some time, and so they will make the most of it. Emily, it's a nice bounce back, and we talk about momentum, and now with Cadiz just 2 weeks away, this could not have come at a better time for the Americans.
It's the perfect way to be rolling straight into another event. With the big range of conditions we've had this weekend, it shows their adaptability as a team, and that's a great strength to have going into Cadiz, where we don't know what the wind conditions are going to be. We saw a lot of action there last season, so could be exciting.
Opportunity now for the photos to be taken here on a poignant day for America, 9/11, and Team USA, Jimmy Spithill and company get it done on the waters of the Mediterranean here at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. This is event number 5 of season 3. As Emily alluded to, this carries a lot of momentum because the next event is just around the corner, September 24th and 25th in Cadiz, in Andalusia, the Spain Sail Grand Prix. And it will be quite a show, a quick turnaround as the Americans continue their celebration out on the Med. So let's take a look at the season standings as we make the turn now on to event number 6. And I'll tell you what, San Francisco looming in the distance and everyone trying to get in the top 3. You see the Americans picking up the 10 points, New Zealand finishing in 2nd place, and Great Britain finishing in 3rd. France just missing out on that podium race, which would have been huge for them. And we'll take a look now at the season standings now. 5 events complete. Australia still has the lead, but by 1 point as the Kiwis have closed it down. Great Britain in the top 3. Denmark, France, Canada, the USA moves up to 25 points. Behind Canada with a 29, and a lot of work still for Spain and Switzerland as they will put their attention on to Spain.
Well, yeah, that's right. USA, great result for them, but unfortunately penalty points, meaning they're only on 25, not 29 points for a collision.
So we'll keep an eye on that as we get ready for Spain. Before we say goodbye to France, we want to remind you the Impact League, which is also the race within the race, as all of these national teams try to reduce their carbon footprint. And once again, it's New Zealand out in front. Coming off of the last event, Denmark sits now in 2nd place, and Switzerland, the most improved yet again, a big improvement for them, Emily, as they continue to do great things for our planet.
Exactly. They've been working well with their partner, promoting sailing for all abilities.
Well, here we go, the water cooler moment of the weekend. Well, there's been no love lost between these two teams at the top of the fleet, and it was Australia trying to dive inside the New Zealand boat here. That aggressive move effectively put the Australians on the bad foot, and well, 2 misses of a final in a row for Australia. Can they get their wagons back on their bus when they get to Cadiz in a couple of weeks' time?
2 different days of racing, and what a performance all the way around. But congratulations once again to USA SailGP as they get the win in completely different types of racing and conditions for Saturday's high winds and then the low winds on Sunday. And again, cannot say enough for Brad Marsh and the tech team making that changeover, Stevie and Emily, from the small boards to the giant boards plus the dagger board. So it was almost like a complete refit.
Well, it was like a whole new engine, a whole new boat, a whole new vehicle, basically, that got put out there, and that's just the adaptability we have to have. Powered by nature, and what nature gives us, we make the most of. And what a display it was yesterday, and what a tense display it was today. It's a different kind of nerves, different kind of viewing experience for everyone on the shore here, but there's a lot of happy people in Saint-Tropez, and certainly I, for one, enjoyed it, but probably not as many as the 6 sailors on that boat who gave us quite a display of composure, comeback, grit, and teamwork.
A little bit of everything for everyone. You had the high winds, you have the low winds, you had the contacts, which we were trying to avoid. And again, the Impact League doing great things here in Saint-Tropez as we reduce our carbon footprint.
Well, and a bit of glitz and glamour, Todd. Have a look at that.
Call that the SS Morrison as it pulls in. But we say goodbye for now. We want to remind you, coming up in just 2 weeks' time, it will be the Spain Sail Grand Prix, September 24th and 25th. Andalusia and Cadiz host the best sailors in the world, and expect some great racing action. It's always delivered the goods in Spain, so we look forward to that. On behalf of Lisa Darmanin, Emily Nagel, and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris saying au revoir from beautiful France and the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix here in Saint-Tropez.
It's going to be really hard to accelerate. Here they go, look at that. Pop the boat up out of the water and they're going to be charging.
Yesterday it was hold on to your toupee kind of weather, and today we're looking right around 10 kilometers an hour. We would like to remember a dear friend of SailGP who recently passed away. Edward Hawthorne, known to all as Woody, was the key software developer for all the complex systems on the F-50s, including the groundbreaking wing controls. Along with his top-level technical skills, he was always great fun to have around and always at the top of his game. SailGP CEO Russell Coutts described Woody as a fantastic person, colleague, and incredible